Welcome. Happy New Year, everybody. Next month, just so you know, I'll get this out of the way now, we're going to have the town manager and the school superintendent is going to be here to talk about the budget. So I think that's very important as we're moving into hopefully warmer weather. In the spring, we have our March town meetings. Our budget, the police department, is pretty much just the cost of doing business. No new additional personnel coming after the spring. Update on the police department, very excited to report that as I speak with you right now, we are being assessed for a mock assessment for full accreditation for this spring. So I'm very excited about that. Lieutenant Daniels spoke to about all the hard work him and Sergeant Shepard are doing on that. So they're with the mock assessors now. We are going to be certified, receiving our award, our certification, February 15th in Marlboro. So it's very exciting times for the Westboro Police Department. Like I said, professional standards for the department. All our policy and procedures have been rewritten and implemented. And you're going to see them if you go online. We're going to post a lot of those policies online in the spirit of true transparency so you can see what your police department is doing and the high standards that we do have. Very excited to have today Lieutenant Luce is here, Cliff Luce. He is our patrol division commander. So he oversees patrol division. He's been here before talking about crash recon. He's with the Central Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council. He does accident reconstruction. He has some other command experiences that he'll share with you today. So again, I'm very proud to say I was able to promote him to sergeant and now lieutenant, doing a fantastic job. Not just here in Westboro, but regionally, he'll explain those things. Just to remind everybody, you know, I don't want to scare anyone, but you know, we have had some residential and some commercial breaking and enterings recently. So, in one of them, it always bothers me. Let's face it, you know, where we live, I mean, that's where we feel safest, right? That's our home, our castle. And it really, we take it very personally when someone breaks into your home. And in one of the cases, this poor woman, she had 3 urns that were stolen that were her pets, ashes for her pets. So obviously we want to reunite that with this homeowner. So like I said, if you do see anything out there, anything suspicious, I know a lot of times I hear people say, you know, Chief, we don't want to bother you, bother us. Please bother us. We would rather look into nothing than you have a concern and it turns out to be something. So, but like I said, we've been very busy. The staff's doing a fantastic job. Really proud, like I said, of what we're doing right now. Accreditation is a very professional stamp, you know, on the department. And I'm really proud to say we're going to be the first department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that's going to be accredited under version 6. Version 6 is basically all the post requirements, you know, police officer standards and training commission, all these mandates that be put on us that we are embracing. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Lieutenant Luce, and I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in February.
Good morning. I'll speak loudly. I can't. I'll probably. Good morning. My name is Cliff Luce. I'm, as the chief had said, I'm the patrol lieutenant here for the town of Westboro. I was hired here in Westboro in 2007. Is when I started my career here in Westboro. So I've been here. I can always tell how long I've been here by how old my daughter is. When I was hired, she was 6 months old, so she just turned 16. So it's an easy way for me to remember how long here I've been in Westboro. So during that time, I've had the opportunity to be in patrol, and then while I'm in patrol, I did crash reconstruction. I came in here and talked about that. Any fatal crashes or serious injury crashes within the town, I respond to. I'm also a member of the crash reconstruction team for CEMLEC, which is the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council, which Chief Lourie is the president of the Central Mass Chiefs, and he is also the president of the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council. So within that, I go out to 80 plus towns. If they have a bad crash, our team is responsible for going out there and assisting that department with the crashes. So Some notable ones, Shrewsbury, Hopkinton, Milford, Bellingham, all the way out to Sturbridge and Spencer, all over the place. We're everywhere. I came in here a couple years ago. It was probably the excitement of the day. I flew the drone in here. I don't know if you guys remember that, but if you guys were here, I flew the drone. I was the crazy one who flies a drone inside of a building. I don't think you're gonna find too many other people who would try that feat. Don't try that at home. We've really kind of taken off, literally and figuratively, with the drone program. It's been very, very successful for the town. We are also one of the first departments here in Central Mass. We have, again, a group where they go out, and if we have to help look for somebody, we actually deploy our drone to other municipalities as well. So we're very, very lucky with that in using our drone for not just here in Westboro, but also around. But it's been a very big bonus here in Westboro. We've anything from lost kids, adults, dogs, hikers, boaters, things like that. So there's a lot of things with the drone program. Getting back to it, I was promoted to sergeant on the road for patrol sergeant. I had a great time. It's a fantastic thing. It's the in-between from the administration to the patrol officers. It's kind of that filter in between what the administration wants and what the patrol officers want. And then I had the opportunity to go upstairs and be in the detective bureau for a short period of time to kind of see what happens up there. That parlayed me into being a patrol lieutenant. I was promoted to patrol lieutenant in July of this year, however, it is now July of last year. So I was promoted to patrol lieutenant in July of last year, where I oversee everyone who wears this uniform. Other than the chief and the deputy chief, everyone who goes out to work and wears this uniform, I technically oversee. They're a part of the patrol division. They make up for 90+% of the activity in the police department. Detective Bureau makes up a lot of it. They kind of behind the scenes stuff, but the everyday interactions, Officer Sabati, who's kindly mopping up here, and all the other officers, and all the other officers who wear uniforms, they all fall under the purview of the patrol lieutenant. But I couldn't do my job without an excellent staff of the patrol sergeants. Patrol sergeants are out there and they do a tremendous job interacting with the public, interacting with their officers, and making sure that the reports are good, that the officers are doing the right thing. My function as a patrol lieutenant not only is to make sure that our sergeants are doing the right thing, but I oversee internal affairs investigations for the patrol division. So if someone has a complaint against one of our officers, it goes to our one of the sergeants on shift. Sergeants on shift look at it, and if there is actually a violation of our policies and procedures, or a law violation, something along those lines, then it comes to me, chief and the deputy chief, where I'm assigned to do an internal affairs investigation on the officer. As you guys know, we have implemented body cameras March of last year, not March of this year, March of last year. And the body cameras have been really spectacular for us, the police department, and also for the public. If someone calls and says an officer was rude, or something was inappropriate, or that the officer did a great job, a use of force, we look at those. And we look at how the officer handled themselves during a use of force incident. Our body cameras are really fantastic. They show the whole picture. They show the entire interaction. They show what happened. So our body cameras really exemplify the great work that our officers do. And they also can be used for an investigation. Did our officers do something wrong? We can look at the body cameras on that. So it's transparency on both ends of the spectrum. What else? What else do I do? I still do accident reconstruction. Not as much as I'd like to, but I still do crash reconstruction. I find that my day, I always joked about it when I used to see Lieutenant Fryer. I'd go out in the morning and I'd come back in the afternoon. He'd be working in his office all day. I'm like, man, what does he do all day? Now I understand. It's a very, very busy spot. There's a lot asked of the patrol division lieutenant. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that I'm very fortunate to be a part of. And it's a great job. There's something new every day. And I love patrol. I love kind of the, lack of a better term, the romance of patrol. You never know what's going to happen day to day. You never know, what calls you're going to go to. You never know what wonderful people we're going to meet during the day and help out. So it's a great opportunity for the patrol division, and I truly do enjoy working here. So without further ado,
So I just want to add to a very important function that the lieutenant has is dealing with our new hires. Right now we have 4 people as of January 30th that are going to be in the police academy. We haven't put someone in the police academy in 16 years. 16 years. We've done solely lateral transfers, so we're very excited about that. What the lieutenant had to do figure out is A, how do I get him in the academy? Right? All that process is a huge process. I'll have him talk to you about that a little bit. But he also oversees the field training program. So if you can imagine, we have 2 lateral transfers that are on the road right now. They're probationary officers, are on probation. Now we're going to have 4 people graduating in the coming months, so that's 6 people on probation. It's a lot of work. He's also in charge of scheduling, so he's going to schedule the entire department. But then we have to make sure we don't want these 6 probationary employees all working together. Right? We have to separate out, and it's going to be an interesting time for us because, like I said, we haven't had people out of the academy in quite some time. And like I've always talked about, we hire extremely hard to manage easy. We really got 4 solid people that are going to work well here in Westboro, but it's going to take a lot longer to get them up to speed because they have no real on-the-job policing experience. So do you want to just explain a little bit about that, because it is such an important role that he is in charge of.
thankfully the chief is here to remind me. See, this is why he comes. Another thing, the academy. The academy is very interesting. When I went through the academy, and also the chief, it was pretty much, you want to go through the academy, you went, you did like a physical and a psychological, and you signed up and you went to the academy. You got your uniforms, and then you get yelled at for 6 months. For some people, you get yelled at a lot more because their academy was a lot more difficult. Mine was, I look at the academies now and I say, I was pretty good. Like, mine wasn't too bad. I didn't get yelled at that much. I get yelled at. Most of the time it was entirely my fault. But with our new hires, the hardest thing that we do is we have interviews. And we have an interview, and we interview someone who's never been a police officer, and we interview them for 20 to 40 minutes, depending on how good or bad their interview is. Sometimes the interview's short. They're not really answering our questions really great. Sometimes the interview is long because they're really answering our questions and we're engaged with the interview. But you have to think about it. We're interviewing someone for 40 minutes for a 35-year career. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. A lot of the questions, a lot of how they answer, and they may not answer the exact way that we kind of would want them to answer, but they're thinking about it. They're critically thinking, and that's important to us. That's important to us in the police department, because there's a lot of times in everyday operations and activities that these people need to critically think. And after the interview process, then we do a very extensive background, which again is very different than when I came on, because now what is there? There's social media. So now we look at all their social media, we dig into that, we dig into what was going on in their past. And that background really helps us out kind of focus in on the people that we think would be good candidates. And then after that, then they go to a physical, and then they do a psychological. And then after they get done all of that, they have to go and then they have to pass what's called a PAT standard, the physical aptitude test, which is run by the Commonwealth. So every police officer and firefighter has to complete this course before they go to an academy. So now they have to go through that. Again, when I did it, you showed up, you went through it. Now there's a day that you go before to kind of practice, and then you go another day to take the test. And on top of that, you go in before the academy, you do a PT test for the academy. So you have to do a run, push-ups, sit-ups, some stretch or something. There's quite a few things that you have to do even before you get into the academy. So there's a long list of things that police officers now have to do before they get hired onto the academy. And then afterwards, I apologize, my radio talking. How dare they? And then afterwards, the officers that come out, they're going to come out not knowing anything about police work. As the chief said, we've had lateral hires. So we've had people who have been police officers, so they understand how to talk on the radio, how to stop a car, the laws, things like that. Now we're going to have 4 people that are going to come out of the academy that have never worn a uniform, have never had a gun, have never had a badge, have never driven a police car. And we have to start them from ground level. So that is going to be very, very involved. As the chief said, the last person that we sent through the academy from the beginning to the end that we sent was Sergeant Achu, and that was back in 2008, I want to say. So that's the last person that we had to send through as a Westboro police recruit. So it's very, very exciting that we have 4 people, but as a scheduling standpoint and as a training standpoint, for us at the police department, we're only going to let them out on the road by themselves only when they are ready. And if they don't make it through our field training, we're not going to just say, well, we put them through the academy, so we're going to put them out on the road. If they don't pass our field training, they don't get hired by the Westboro Police Department. They don't get kept as a patrol officer with the Westboro Police Department. We're not going to keep people just to keep people. As the chief said, we hire hard so we can manage easy. So again, we want to make sure that we're putting the best officer out there so that when you guys call for help or you need help, then we're going to send the best person there for you that we can possibly have for the town. So, and the scheduling is interesting, especially when people change what lines they want to be on. Sometimes people are on straight eves, and then all of a sudden they want to change to straight days. So then I have to do the Jenga and the puzzle, and okay, this one goes here and this one goes here. So it becomes interesting, but it's a joy to do it. It's a pleasure, and it's a good time. So is the person here that I talked to about traffic on their speeding on their road, West Main Street? They said they might be here today. So one of the things that we do is traffic enforcement requests. This is a big part of our I guess our call volume is traffic. That's one of our main complaints is speeding or crosswalk violations, stop walks. So on the town's page in the police department, there's a link, and then you can follow it on the left-hand side. It's submit a traffic request or traffic complaint request, I believe is what it says. Click on that and you fill out some information. It's very beneficial because it goes to myself and it goes to one of the other sergeants who is in charge of our traffic division. And we see where the complaint is. So if you live on West Main Street and there's a complaint, you see every morning, you see the same car speeding. It helps direct us to a more directed patrol. So we're not just sending an officer out there for an hour to sit and to run radar, but if we know and we can identify a car that's speeding at the exact same time every day, then it's a better use of our resources to send the officer out there during that time and see if we can identify that vehicle. So it's on the town page. It's underneath the police department's town page. It's right there. So that's certainly something to look for if you ever have a complaint on traffic or any other issue. So, you guys have questions? I've answered everything for you. Yes?
How many females do you have on the staff? Are they, is everybody treated the same?
Everyone is treated the exact same. Yes. Yes, they are. So we have 2 females right now on staff. Officer Joquin, Amanda Joquin is on patrol, and Detective Alicia O'Brien is in our detective bureau. So they are both wonderful partners here with us in the police department. You know, one of the officers in the department. So they do a great job. They're expected to perform the exact same as everybody else. We hold everyone to the exact same standard. It's a high standard, but we certainly hold them to it. So, but they do a wonderful job. They're really amazing. And I know Detective O'Brien. She's on the Veterans Committee on the board. Am I correct on that? Yeah. Veterans Advisory Board, so she's very involved in the community as well. So, and Officer Joquin does helps out with RAD. She's also, I believe, going to be on our crime scene unit. So there's definitely lots that they're involved in.
And we have another woman that's in the police academy right now. She'll be graduating in April. Kylie McKenna. You've met her. She was our clinician here. And she fell in love with policing, and we hired her.
So we will have 3. Yes. So we have several. There isn't one. Where is the police academy? So the Massachusetts State Police has their academy is in New Braintree, so they have one centralized academy. The Massachusetts Police Training Council, the MPTC, that oversees all training for local officers, not state police, but anyone that's local. They have academies throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So our officers right now, or our recruits, are going to Linfield, which is out by Reading. There's a Linfield Academy. There's academies. I went to Boylston, the Academy of Boylston. The chief went to Worcester. Worcester Police Department has an academy. Glad I didn't go to that one. The deputy chief went to the Worcester Academy. Officer Johnson went to the Worcester Academy. Sergeant Gallagher went to the Worcester Academy. I know I'm probably missing a couple, and I'm going to get yelled at for this. But I hit the big ones on the Worcester Academy. The chief and the deputy chief, those I got out of the way. The MBTA Academy in Quincy. We've sent officers to that academy. So we have it throughout the Commonwealth. Yep.
We have one officer is in the Sigmund Community College Academy. They have an academy. He will also be graduating in April.
We have lots of options.
Odd question. So if you're involved in a minor, hopefully not at all, road accident, okay, so you're in charge of investigation, when you report it, the insurance company needs you to send a copy of the 6-7 page report to them and to the registry and to the jurisdiction that maintains the road.
Yep.
How are you supposed to know who's in charge of what road and where it goes? So for example, if you're on Route 9,
Yep.
I'm assuming that's a state road, or is that a West road?
It's maintained by the state, but in your crash report that you do on the bottom right, it
Yes.
says to the town in which the crash occurred,
Yes.
to the registry of motor vehicles, it gives their address, and to your
Right.
insurance company.
Right.
So whatever
Two roads are
town.
easy.
Yep. So whatever town the crash is.
Doesn't work
So-
like that.
Well, that's what.
Because you don't, what if you don't, what I'm getting at is.
Oh, for a minor crash where the police don't respond, then
Correct.
I would just send it to the municipality. Unless you're on the highway, which would be the state police. Unless you're on the mass bike. But if you get into a minor crash and you know you're in the town of Westboro, then it would go to the Westboro Police Department. That's where it should
Even
go.
if it's on a state road.
Correct.
So you wouldn't send it to,
State police. We send it to, no, and it says the police department jurisdiction. It says, it doesn't say the jurisdiction of or who covers the road. It says the police department that responds.
correct.
Yep. So,
So for example, if you're involved, I'm trying to give you an example that makes sense. Under a bridge, is it the jurisdiction of the?
so no, it's what town it would be in. So wherever you are, whatever town you're in is the jurisdiction. Other than 495, 290, the Mass Pike, like
What
interstates.
about the Boston South Station tunnel?
now you get, well, that's the state police. Because the tunnel is jurisdiction of the state police.
Okay.
I will say this about crashes, I'll make this easy. If you're involved in a motor vehicle crash, especially in the town of Westboro, if you're involved in a motor vehicle crash, even if it's a minor crash, you may think it's a minor crash, but all of a sudden, you go to your insurance company and your insurance company says, well, to replace this bumper with the sensors and everything else like that, it's probably gonna be about $5,000. May or may not, but it's probably close to it. The best thing that I can tell people to do is to call us. We'll go down there, we'll get your information, we'll get the other party's information, we'll make sure that everyone has insurance, we'll make sure that everything's on the up and up on both vehicles. And then if there's a question later on, then we have all that information. So it's easy to do for us. And it's something that kind of covers and protects everyone around here, all the motorists. I will say, if you're on Route 9 and you are involved in a crash in the left-hand lane, and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in traffic, if you're able to, you can move off to the side of the road so we can open up the flow of traffic, then do so. Okay, you can certainly snap a picture with your phone. A lot of people, they say, I just want to leave the car there so you see what happened. And if there's damage to the rear of your car and there's damage to the front of the other car, we can kind of figure out what happened. Okay, we can kind of figure out what happened. The bigger ones where they call me in, where everyone's kind of standing there and they're like, I think this one hit this one, and now we have to look at skid marks and yaw marks and damage to the roadway and stuff like that. Obviously, we're not moving those ones. So certainly take a picture of it if you feel more comfortable, and then move your cars off if you're safe to do so, and call us, because then it alleviates all the issues, because then it's down the department who responded to it. So yes, sir.
Can I add to your response?
Of course.
Okay. Everybody in here watch TV? Do you notice there's these insurance companies that say if you're involved in a crash, contact us?
Sure.
You think you're involved in a minor crash, you get home and you find out somebody's filed a lawsuit for thousands of dollars. And your opinion was they were injured in the least. You need a police officer at every contact, every single contact. And you need to take pictures, and the police need to take pictures, because there are people that make a living being in auto accidents. Trust me, I know. I come from Lawrence. They used to do that. My uncle, he was a lawyer that was what they call, these lawyers that go to crash scenes?
Personal injuries. Oh,
Ambulance chaser, right. And he got very, very wealthy doing that. So anytime you have an accident, get a police officer there, get testimony, get signed statements, because somebody's going to come back, oh my neck, oh my back. This is a retirement opportunity. Trust me, I know it happens. And those people on TV, they are not those law firms on TV are not advertising because they're getting a break on the commercial time. They're advertising because there's money involved, and they take the case on consignment. They don't make money. You don't get money. They don't get money. So they're out to get money.
Can I add something to
Go right ahead.
what Dominic is saying? So we actually, we do get public records requests
Yeah.
from law firms
Yeah.
looking for accident reports, making public records requests. So Dominic is correct. You know, there's a lot of litigation when it comes to accidents. So even one step further is we have a records clerk that receives basically public record requests on accidents to contact people that were involved in the accident.
It's a major industry.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
And this is totally off the break here,
Okay.
I must receive at least between 2 to 5 texts or emails every day telling me that I won $1 million. Can't believe it.
Yep.
Not been anywhere near.
Yep.
I know this is really not what you're talking about, but how do you get rid of those?
There's a number that you can call to be put on the do not call list, and then I know there's a number that you can text that assists with blocking those calls. But that's certainly, I'm kind of walking out of my purview right now. I just hit block.
Right.
Like, I have fun with them for a little bit. You know, sometimes when they call and I'm kind of, I'm maybe driving home or something, and I answer the phone, and it keeps me busy on my ride home talking to them. I think it's a wonderful time. I find enjoyment out of it. It keeps my drive entertaining. There are numbers that you can call and things that you can get onto, but I know it's all.
If it comes around an email, I can spam it.
Yep.
But now there's running.
Voice and text messages, yeah. Yep, it is. It's annoying. Yeah. Technology, right? It's a good thing we have text, but now, yes, sir.
What is the most difficult part of your job?
The most difficult part of my job, that's a good one. I think for me personally, the most difficult part of my job in doing crash reconstruction, for me personally, is informing family members that their loved one has died in a crash. You're that person who tells them that their loved one has died in a crash. For me, that's probably the hardest part of the job for me. Going to crashes and seeing people there at the crash that that have been killed in an auto accident, an auto crash is very difficult. But to go and to tell the loved ones that just saw their husband, wife, brother, sister, mom, dad, whoever it is, earlier in the day or a few days ago that they were involved in a motor vehicle crash and they died as a result of it, is probably the hardest part of my job.
What about telling somebody their dog ran away with the crash? My wife rides with a dog. The greatest fear she has is getting in an accident and the dog runs away and she never sees the dog again.
Yeah,
That's like losing a child.
it is.
Can I ask you a couple of questions? I have a long, involved conversation here. Is it okay with you, Chief, or you gotta go somewhere?
Nope,
Okay.
my next meeting's not for another 45 minutes.
Oh, you could be here at least that long. So anyway,
Now you're going and done it.
are you familiar with you're familiar with the term cop, right? Police officers sometimes called cops. Okay.
Okay.
You're familiar with the derivation or the purported derivation of the term cop? Are you familiar with that? Okay, let me
Try not to be.
No, really,
Call a lot
no,
of things in my
no.
life.
No.
Oh, okay, well, this is a good derivation. Oh,
Well,
okay.
sometimes people bastardize certain events. The derivation is constable on patrol.
Okay, yep, I
Constable
have
on
heard
patrol.
that. Yep.
A constable is a term used for police officers in Britain, okay? And we derive from the British language, constable on patrol. Now that brings back to me the constable, yeah, and he's walking down the street, he's checking the doors, make sure the merchants lock their doors, and he's visible in the neighborhood, okay? And that's called a deterrent to crime. He's not responding to anything. He's just walking his beat, which is again sometimes used negatively with police personnel, but that's a deterrent. Now, so I think there's two formats or two methodologies for law enforcement. I think one is deterrent and one is response. Okay. Now, Chief Lourie, right? His background is in response. You were a major figure in SWAT teams, right?
Yes.
Right. His background is response. And I've lived in West for a very long time. And I remember years back, like 10 years ago, you haven't been here 10 years, right? Right, okay. 4 or 5 years, I was going to say 7 to 9, but I took 10 as a safe distance. I remember police cars driving through, and I live an isolated neighborhood. It's not on the main road, it's one of these subdivisions. Okay, and there'd be police cars driving through in the evening, just randomly, right? Not on a schedule, so that the criminals could time the event, but randomly they'd be driving through. I haven't seen that in years. I think Westboro has a response methodology, a response philosophy, rather than a patrol philosophy. I actually believe a patrol philosophy is better, a guardian philosophy is better, because I think that the criminals are very often characterized as being stupid, okay? It might be stupid to live a life of crime, but if it's a profession, and a profession, people get good at what they do. And getting good at what they do is, today, has a particular characteristic. I was watching a video, I watch crime shows all day long, I love crime shows. And I was watching on the internet, I was watching a crime scene on the internet where a clothing store was broken into and had the gate that opens and expands and a lock. Those people were in there 5 to 7 minutes, and they're out of there. You know why? Because that's how long it's going to take the police to get there. They know response times. They know how to get out. That's why you're not having so much luck maybe with some of these break-ins, because they know you're not patrolling the neighborhood. There's none of that random enforcement.
Because I'm going to forget some of my thoughts. We do that. Our sergeants, we have roll call every day. If you go and look on our log, I just posted it this morning, our public press log. When you see those it was 295 incidents that I posted today. That's our public press log. Our actual log is probably triple that, because there's domestics in there that we can't post, there's sex assaults, there's all kinds of things. So every morning, we have roll call, and our sergeant will say, these are the directed patrols. You ought to do traffic in this area based on the complaints that the lieutenant receives. We have break-in entries in certain areas, we have issues, and the officers are on patrol when they do not have calls for service. So we are constantly trying to be as proactive as humanly possible. But I'm going to be honest with you, part of the problem is we don't have enough police officers. We have a fire department that's knocking on the door of 50 personnel when they get done their next hiring phase. We're working with 36 right now because we have 4 in the academy. So when I took over, we had 29 police officers sworn from the chief on down. When I was a patrolman in the town of Shrewsbury in 1988, we had the same amount of patrol officers. And if you look at the growth of Westboro, you look at the apartment complexes, you look all those new apartments and condos down, Smith Parkway, all those, they're not filling out the census. They're saying we're 22,000 people. I would add 10,000 to that number. We have 8 hotels in town. We're buying guns, we're buying drugs. We have all kinds of issues that are happening right here in Westboro. And it's a great community, but you need tires that meet the roads. Yes, do we want to do more proactive type of policing, as Dominic is talking about? Of course, we'd love to. But the problem is our call volume is so high, we have to respond. And there are certain calls that we're going to that takes 2, 3, 4 officers. And when I took over minimum manning, I remember sitting at the fire station at a diversity inclusion meeting. I had the sergeant was 6 o'clock at night filling details, because that's how they always did it, you know, all when people are at dinner. Now we have a software package that fills the details for us. It's a lot more timely. I had a guy running down Route 9 naked, causing a car accident, 6 o'clock at night, mental health issues on drugs. And I had 2 officers booking a prison with no one on the road. And I'm running from the fire department down by Route 9, 495, trying to get to this call to help Southborough PD and the state police responding. That day, I raised minimum manning. That day, that very day, I raised the call volume that we have here in Westboro. I was with a fellow person I served on SWAT with. He was at the station the other day, Ken Charlton. He's a team commander now. And we were comparing statistics, you know, Auburn and Westboro. We're actually busier than Auburn. They have more personnel than we have. So that's why you see me constantly pushing, trying to add people. I don't want your taxes to go up. I don't want to, you know, but we don't have enough people. And like I said, there are days, this radio yesterday, we were so busy. We had a crash, we were doing CPR. I mean, it was just one of those situations where it's just, you just don't have enough people. And thankfully, we have a great working relationship with our neighbors for mutual aid. But I'm just being honest. Do we want to do more? Yes. I mean, there are issues that I would love to deal with. I think I shared with you a story. Again, I don't want to scare anyone. A woman calls down, one of our hotels can bring up a pair of scissors. It's a woman who's duct taped, her wrists and her ankles. She's a prostitute. She was beaten and robbed. There are things that we would like to really proactively investigate in our detective bureau, but you're right, we're playing defense with 5 breaking and enterings in 48 hours. And we will solve them. And I'm very proud of our staff. That case that I told you about, that woman who was assaulted and robbed, we solved that case. We lifted a fingerprint off the duct tape, and we solved that case. It was a crew out of New Bedford that did it. So, I mean, we have a very competent staff, our crime scene people. When I tell you those 5 B&Es, the absolute, it's almost like surgeons collecting evidence. You know, we're sending people to URI, University of Rhode Island. It's a $3,800 training for evidence collection and crime scene. Why are we doing that? We don't want you victimized twice. Someone comes into your home, we're gonna make sure we identify them, we're gonna build a case, we're gonna successfully prosecute. And hopefully, by doing that, hey, don't go to Westboro. That's our goal. You know, not that we wanna see Northboro or Southboro or Shrewsbury, but we had a crash. We had a pedestrian that was killed in the town of Shrewsbury in a motor vehicle accident. Our officers, through due diligence, not only located the car, located the person who fled the scene, and we helped solve that crime right here in Westboro. Again, they were staying at one of our hotels. So these are things that we're trying to accomplish here, and it's a team effort. It's Lieutenant Luce making sure, and he's absolutely right. The road dog sergeant is critical to making sure that our officers are doing exactly what Dominic is saying, is that they're out there in the square, in the rotary, you know, complaints when a child got hit by a car. You know, we're trying to identify that, and the different things on social media. Follow us on social media. You know, look at our public press log. Look at some of the things we're doing. You're going to see your police department's very busy. And I will share, at the risk of being redundant, that is not the actual log itself, because we can't share certain things. Protective custody arrest, we can't share. You know, when we Narcan people, we place them in protective custody, we get them up to the hospital just because in case the Narcan wears off, they go overdose, but we take away their high and they go and use again and overdose. That's not in the public press log. People on alcohol that are placed in protective custody. Sex assaults. None of those crimes you're going to see. Domestic situations we cannot put in the log, because basically we want people that are victims of domestic violence to report it, and we don't want to put, you know, that they're afraid because now the arrested person is in the public press log. But and this is something we deal with on a daily basis.
And one of the things also, to back up the chief on that, is our officers are driving through the hotels, they're driving through the neighborhoods. Unless, you know, you have a camera that's kind of focused right out your window for 24 hours a day, you know, you may be in the bathroom, you may be going, you know, you may be doing something, you may be watching TV, you may be watching the crime show or something along those lines when the officers are driving through the neighborhood. So, and as the chief said, our officers found that car that was involved in the fatal pedestrian crash in Shrewsbury because they're driving around, because they're doing checks. And if you look, and I know what you're saying, sir, and the old saying goes, we could have a police officer on every single solitary corner of every street for 24 hours a day, but the second they change, no matter how hard we tried, changing the time and everything else like that, they'll find out. So we do our absolute best to try and be out there and try and be in the neighborhoods, but obviously it is a large town, and we try and do our best. And we are spread thin, but we certainly make very, very good with our resources. And that's another thing why I said about director patrols for our traffic. Instead of having an officer sit out there from 9 to 10, when the traffic is worse from 8 to 9, we like to find out about it. But we can do kinds of things like that. So.
Okay, I want to tell the chief. I'm not criticizing the chief. What I'm doing is trying to demonstrate to the audience here and to yourself that you're a very articulate, informed individual. And I am sick of going to town meetings where the school department gets everything they want. They're overfunded. They have like an entitlement mentality that cannot be touched. And the police department gets less than they need. As a matter of fact, I think the most important department in any town, in any community, in the history of the world is the police department, because you never recover what you lose through a criminal act. Never recover. These people, they do not get fairness out of the justice system. Criminals, they come out of prison before the guy comes out of the hospital that they assaulted. It is a joke, and it's getting worse, and you know it's getting worse, and the stupidity of defunding the police is simply the criminals activating their social network to put you at risk and out of work, and it's ridiculous because I'm telling you, when somebody kills somebody in your family, I don't care what they do to them, it doesn't make that better. It isn't like the old days where they were drawn and quartered and burned at the stake. They're literally given a college education and a ticket to a better life because they killed somebody. You know what I'm talking about. The criminal justice system is absurd today.
Final question, please.
Sure.
Could you tell us what is the highest percentage of cases that you have to deal with in Westboro?
You guys didn't prepare. I should have gotten an email before I came with these kinds of questions. My goodness.
Final question.
Final point. Well, you should have had that one earlier.
Years to get to this.
Oh, you've been well. Okay. Percentage of cases that we've cleared, or that
you have to deal with. What's the major thing that we're looking at in Westboro as far as crimes?
That takes most of your time.
That's a tough one because it's so much. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of mental health issues now. People that have drug problems, substance abuse problems, property crimes. I mean, it's really difficult to really say. Traffic is probably the biggest complaint that we get to kind of slow people down and like you kind of saying crosswalks and different things. But there's so much, it runs the gamut now. But I would say very challenging, between the overdoses and just mental health issues. We had, and I can share with you this next month, I'll bring the actual numbers, but we had, I believe, last year, 44 use of force reports to the state, where the year before was 29. Just this week alone, and the body cameras are great. We got a call to go to a domestic. It was a 19-year-old person assaulting the family, and we had to use force. We actually deployed the taser. And I believe in a lot of cases, it's stress, different things. And coming out of COVID, that was very interesting too, because some of our call volume did because there was less traffic on the road and everything else, but the mental health issues were very high, because people have fever and different issues. So it's really tough. What I can do is I will research that question, and I'll bring some statistics in. If you look at my year-end report that Lieutenant just forwarded me a bunch of information on, it actually will list, calls and different things and what we're dealing with arrest-wise. I will say that
when we embrace the JDP, the jail diversion program, we have a clinician in the cruiser, and that's just what it is. We're trying to get people the help they need. So if you look at our criminal summonses, they're very high, but our arrests are lower. I want to say we probably did less than 300 physical custodial arrests, and that doesn't include the protective custodies. That's just literally the arrests that we had, because we do have a lot of people we take into protective custody, whether they go to the hospital or until someone gets sober to come get them for their safety. But I'll research that and I'll bring back some hard data for you.
But I would say the most important crime is when, unfortunately, you're the victim of it, because you want to feel whole. You want to make sure that what happened to you is investigated to the best of the ability. So it's important for us, and everyone's kind of, we want to make sure that everyone feels safe in their homes. But I would definitely say, the breaking and enterings, they're sporadic. The crew comes in, they go through the town, they park, they walk. We've seen them. They park in a neighborhood and they walk and they check doors.
Oh.
So that's one of the biggest things that we tell people, that like the 9 p.m. routine, right? Lock your doors. Make sure you take everything that's valuable out of your vehicle. People leave purses, wallets, GPS, laptops, any number of things. And we ask people, we live in Westboro, it's a relatively safe community, but let's not make it easy for people. And you'd be amazed that people leave their garage doors open during the evening hours. They leave their doors unlocked, things like that. We've had officers that are driving through neighborhoods and they stop and they knock on the door and say, your car door is wide open. And oh my God, we took in the groceries and we completely forgot to close our door, right? Our door to our vehicle. So that's happened more times than I can recount. So it's these little things that we as residents of the town of Westboro can certainly do to mitigate the people walking through, because that's what they do. They walk through the neighborhood, they get out, they kind of cut in between, and all they do is they go up to the car, they pull on the car handle, the door handle. If it's locked, they move on. They move on to something else. And it's amazing how many people have unlocked cars still to this day in town.
And I'll just share one case that so we're having catalytic converter thefts, right? All over the Commonwealth. Very, very common crime right now. A heads-up resident that arrives, home of Fountainhead, they see some suspicious activity. We respond, turns into a motor vehicle pursuit, they crash, we arrest, I think, 3 or 4 people. They're out of Providence, Rhode Island, so that one case now, we're gonna try to link to all these other cases throughout the state. So even though that call, which ties up the whole shift and mutual aid and everything else is over, well, now our investigators get involved, and now it's a matter of, okay, like for instance, we're booking the prisoners and they have black masks, and collecting all this evidence and trying to link them together, with cameras in the area. And so it's one of those things where even that one call could take days. Investigation's not done, so it can be very busy. So, and that was based on a heads-up resident said, that's kind of strange, as they were cutting catalytic converters out of cars in the apartment complex. So we need your help.
You gotta email me next time. I gotta come more prepared. So.
You're doing fine.
I am okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
You're doing fine.
That's
We
kind
have
of
to
you.
stay up all night to get these questions.
Okay.
You think I'm kidding? I want to know something, because we've talked about problems, and a while back, I know you touched on this, but how many men now we have 4 in the academy, women or men, how many are you still short?
So we did the staffing study. If you go on our page, on the left-hand side, on our website, you'll see staffing study. We have absolutely obliterated the numbers that company said that we would be at calls for service line. We far exceeded them. We were supposed to be, per that staffing study, we were supposed to be right now at 43. We will be at 40, but I'm saying we've absolutely, those numbers not even close to what they projected that we'd be at. And that's why I say to you, I believe our census is not accurate. I believe that there are a lot more people that are living and staying in Westboro. It doesn't take into account. We're dealing with right now, that it hasn't happened yet, but we were notified by the state that 5 to 10 families in 2 of our hotels are gonna go. There's approximately 80 people, refugees from Central America and Haiti. Well, That's gonna be more call volume, right, for the police department, the fire department. But think about all those kids now are gonna be coming into the Westboro schools that interpreters, different things that they're gonna face. So because we have these venues and these things, people are coming. And that's part of the issue we face is we do have some transient type crime, things that come in and out. So with the good, you know, I mean, just drive down Otis Street and see the growth, just on Otis Street. Technology Drive, don't just go on Computer Drive, go into those neighborhoods and see how many office parks we have, and different things are going on. My credenza in my office is loaded with plans, with businesses that are coming into town, with housing developments that are coming into town. It's a busy little place, and it's like the lieutenant was saying, yes, I believe Westboro is safe. I'm very proud to say, you know, hopefully you sleep soundly at night knowing that your dedicated men and women are here to serve and protect this awesome community. But I am going to be continuing to ask in my next meeting, which I do have to leave, is with the town manager. We're going to be talking about accreditation and talking about some of the mandates that Post is putting on us and why we really do. It's great that we have some fantastic technology, and I can talk about that maybe in a future meeting about the things that are helping.
I lost my keys, that's.
But you need cars that make the road to get the job done.
So will you be asking for more after these four? Because
I
it
will.
doesn't seem to be a problem, chief, to get a whole lot of things in this town, and I don't want my taxes going up. But if they're gonna go up, fire, we need fire, we need police.
So I'm gonna ask,
Okay, the tax.
and all town meeting and the bosses can say is no. And we're gonna provide an unbelievable service with the staffing that we have to the best of our ability. But I say this all the time, we can't do it all, you know, you need people.
Right.
You know? So it's, but like I said, exciting times for us. To be able to say to you that 5 years ago, we had 29, and in the end of April, or actually June 30th, we'll have 40 on the road. I'm proud of that. During COVID, you know, yeah, the staffing study it's unprecedented times, but you know, we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I play my very small part. I'm surrounded by rock stars. The Westboro Police Department, we're the Beatles. You know, I mean, it's just a great department with great personnel. Work extremely hard. We've rescinded, and I'm proud to say this, we've rescinded 9 conditional offers to people that just weren't the right fit because of our background investigations for Westboro. I'm not just going to put a warm body in the seat, you know, and make a 32-year mistake for you folks. You know, that's not what we're going to do.
So you're comfortable in feeling that we're gonna get there?
I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to say to you, there's nice to haves and there's needs. And when I ask for something, it's because there's a need. And like I said, when we have the open house, you'll see I did a hall of honor of photos from the past and the future. I used gift account money for that. We upgraded the gym, gift account money for that. You know, asset forfeit money that we did our floor in the garage because it was very slippery. You know, like we're thinking outside the box whenever we can. The grants that we write, constantly writing grants. We've written the Cops Hiring Fast grant several times. We just don't qualify for it because Westboro does well financially. But like I said, I'm going to continue to ask, and they're going to, you know, we're going to still do the best we can.
So my appointment's here, but
Thank you.
I got 2 very quick ones. You gotta be fast. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
But hold on, first.
I want to,
Hold on. We got what makes country? What makes you country? I don't know. I live in the country.
I don't have a question.
Ladies first, ladies first.
Ladies first.
I don't care what they say, ladies first.
Oh, I have.
Yes.
So after those 4 new recruits apply in the academy, you're going to be able to bring that, correct?
So
What's right?
that's something I'm going to sit down with the town manager, and we're going to have conversations, say how do we do that? How do we get to where we need to be, being fiscally responsible? So 3 of the positions that we have were funded through ARPA, and so they're going to be phased in over time. You know what I mean? So ARPA will do major funding of that. So I think there's a concern, you know, the town manager, you know, she doesn't want the budget to, you know,
Yeah,
go
all
up
at once.
exponentially all at once. So, and that's why we're team players, you know. So I'm going to ask, and I'm going to work with finance committee and board of selectmen and do my thing to try to present the case that this is why we need to be where we're at, and we're gonna do with what we have. You know, do the best we can with what we have. And I believe we're doing well because of the talented people that we've hired. We've hired some people that are really, you know, just top-notch officers.
And even like our newest, or someone who's in the academy right now, I told him to meet me at 10 o'clock, and he's already waiting for me. That's what I like to see.
And if you need lessons in how to do with what they give you, I'm perfectly happy to be your tutor. Been doing it for years.
I just want to give you a heads up on something. When you make a presentation, it's your function, your department's function is not a numbers versus numbers function. It's a numbers versus behavior function. The numbers may have not changed as much, but the behavior in society has changed dramatically in the last 5 years, particularly in the last 2 years. You're working against behaviors, not against numbers, because people are inconsistent in their individual behavior, but society has a consistent behavior. If it drifts towards lawlessness, it's contagious. And you have to deal with behaviors, not numbers.
And we will.
But that's
Good.
true, that's true.
But I actually do have to get back to the station. Yes.
The only comment I want to make is Westboro's taxes are outrageous. The majority of us here, if not all of us here, do not use the school system. I support the school system 100% because education is so vital. And it does an awful lot of things besides just education in the school system. But one of the reasons I choose to stay in this town, we've owned our house for a long time, is because I do feel secure with the police department. You people respond to us when we have concerns and we have issues. And that is, especially as we are aging, that is so important to have that support. So thank you, and thank you, department, for the things that you do and the things that you work.
You know how much we appreciate it.
Please come next month, because the town manager and superintendent will be here, and you can ask, you know, those questions. And I agree with you. You know, every department, you know, has needs and wants, and I think our school system does a very good job, you know, for our future, you know, our most precious resource. But anyway, I do have to get back. He's got an academy mate waiting for him, and I've got another meeting out there. Yes,